And what if your sensitivity is not a burden, but a sign that you have the gift of healing? What if that emotion that overwhelms you when someone else suffers isn't weakness, but a sacred response from your soul? There are people who feel more, who cry in silence over pain that isn't theirs, who carry invisible emotions, who are moved to tears by the suffering of others without knowing why. Maybe you are one of those souls. It's not easy to live with an open heart in a world that teaches you to close it. It's not easy to explain that there are days when you feel exhausted for no reason, or that after being with certain people, a deep sadness takes over you that you can't understand. Not everyone understands what it means to feel so deeply. But today, I'll tell you something that maybe no one has ever told you this clearly. You are not broken. You are connected. There are souls born with a silent fire in their hearts, a flame that doesn't go out even when the world pushes them to harden. They are people who, from a young age, perceive the invisible, dream of things that later come true, or know what someone else is feeling just by looking into their eyes. If this sounds familiar, listen closely, because you might have the gift of healing even if you don't yet know it. That something that has always made you feel different, that made you feel too emotional, too sensitive, or out of place. It's not a flaw. It's a sign, a spiritual key that has been pulsing inside you since you came into this world. Because the soul of the healer does not appear by chance. It emerges in times when the world most needs light. This message is for you who has always felt you are here for something more, for you who sometimes wonders why others come to you when they are hurting, as if they knew you could hold them, for you who feels you absorb the emotional states of those around you and end up drained without understanding why. You are not weak. You are a channel. If this message resonates with you, write in the comments, "I am a channel of light, and my light illuminates the world." Together, we can create a world full of love and hope. Throughout this journey, I'll show you the signs that may reveal that you too have this gift, that invisible gift that is not learned from books, but awakened when the soul is ready. And if any of these signs resonate with you, maybe, just maybe, you are closer to remembering who you really are. Stay with me until the end, because this isn't just a simple test. It's a spiritual mirror, one that can show you that your soul has always had the ability to touch and transform the lives of others, starting with your own. Having the gift of healing doesn't mean performing miracles. It doesn't mean having supernatural powers or holding a sacred title given by someone else. The true gift of healing is much quieter, more human, deeper. It's a heightened form of sensitivity, a pure empathy that surpasses logic and touches directly the soul of others. The healer doesn't need to speak to bring calm. They don't need to place their hands to provide relief. Their mere presence, their gaze, their listening transform. And this doesn't happen because they learned it from someone. It happens because they carry it in their soul. The gift of healing is a vibration, a frequency emitted from the heart when it's aligned with something greater than oneself. Throughout history, these beings have existed. They've walked among us without needing recognition. Many of them didn't even know they were healers. They simply felt more, perceived more, loved more. Their pain was deeper, but so was their compassion. And even though the world often didn't understand their sensitivity, the universe did. And so it sustained them. The true healer is a bridge between worlds, between the visible and the invisible, between suffering and peace, between chaos and balance, not because they have all the answers, but because their soul is willing to hold space for others without judgment. And that, in a world that runs from pain, is an act of deep light. And you know what's most beautiful about this gift? It shows up when the soul is ready. It doesn't matter your age, religion, origin, or knowledge. The gift of healing awakens when a person has lived enough to understand that their own wound was the first channel through which the light entered. The healer is not born from pride, but from the humility of having felt pain and choosing not to perpetuate it, but to transform it. Your body knows it. That's why it vibrates differently. That's why sometimes it tires more quickly in heavy environments. That's why it trembles around certain people or activates in the presence of someone else's suffering. The soul of the healer cannot pretend indifference, and your soul has already begun to remember. If this topic inspires you, and you believe more people should hear it, subscribe, like, and share your experience in the comments. Your support changes lives, because there are many sleeping souls out there, and your story might be the key that awakens them. Has it ever happened that complete strangers tell you their life stories within the first 5 minutes of meeting you? Have you noticed that, without asking for it, people come to you when they're feeling down, as if something in you gives them security, calm, or understanding? Have you ever felt like an emotional refuge for those on the verge of collapse, even when you yourself were facing your own battles? That is not a coincidence. It is a sign, one of the clearest. True healers are magnets for wounded souls. They attract those carrying pain, fear, confusion, or suffering, and they do it effortlessly. It's as if the soul seeking relief recognize in you a special vibration, an energetic field unlike any other, a peace the rest of the world cannot give them. It's not about what you say or do, it's about who you are. Maybe this confused you at some point. Maybe you asked yourself, why do so many people come to me with their problems? Why am I always the one who listens, who comforts, who holds space? And maybe, more than once, you felt exhausted from giving so much, from absorbing so much, from carrying stories that aren't yours, but that for some reason you can't reject. The healer doesn't seek to save anyone, but inevitably they become a lighthouse for those who feel lost. Their energy doesn't promise magical solutions, but it does offer presence, compassion, and humanity. And that in this world is medicine. When someone feels they can open their soul to you without fear, without judgment, without masks, it's because you are emitting a frequency of deep trust. And even if you didn't choose this consciously, your soul chose it long before you came to this plane. Because healers are not made, they awaken. And you, perhaps without realizing it, have already begun to awaken. You did it the first time someone cried in front of you without knowing why. You did it when a friend said, I don't know why, but I feel different when I'm with you. You did it when you were the silent support for someone who had no one else. This gift you carry cannot be learned in any school. It is born from the soul, and simply by being who you are already activating it. Help us spread this message. Subscribe, like, and tell us what spiritual signs you have experienced. Your story may help others remember who they are, because you are not alone, and others are waiting for you to share your light. There are moments when you feel a sadness you can't explain, a sudden emptiness, a knot in your stomach, or a pressure in your chest that has nothing to do with what you are personally living. Sometimes just being near someone is enough to begin feeling their anxiety, their tension, or even their physical pain as if it were your own. This isn't imagination. It isn't uncontrolled hypersensitivity. It's a very real and profoundly powerful spiritual ability. Clairsentience is the ability to perceive the energies, emotions, and physical states of others through your own body. It's not that something is wrong with you. It's that you are absorbing, reading, and translating what others cannot or dare not express. Many healers spend years not understanding why they feel drained after family gatherings, or why their head hurts when someone enters the room full of repressed anger. Some even develop physical symptoms that disappear without reason after leaving certain places or people. This is not weakness. It is spiritual sensitivity in its purest form. Clairsentience is one of the clearest traits of the healer's soul. You perceive what is beyond the reach of common senses. You detect subtle vibrations, emotional shifts, hidden tensions, and your body responds as if it's part of that experience. Yes, it's a delicate gift, but it's also a gateway. Through it, you can understand another's pain with a depth few can reach. But this gift comes with great responsibility, learning to distinguish between what is yours and what you're absorbing from others. Many healers carry others' emotions unknowingly, and over time, that can cause exhaustion, confusion, even internal crises. That's why it's so important to start observing yourself, to ask, is this feeling mine, or am I receiving it from someone else? When you learn to recognize this signal, you can also begin to channel it consciously. You can use it to guide, to heal, to support from a true place. Because those who feel deeply also have the capacity to heal deeply. Your soul doesn't just perceive, it also transforms. And if you've ever felt someone else's pain as your own, if you've cried without knowing why, if your body spoke to you about something that wasn't yours, then don't doubt it. Within you lives the gift. You've been called not to carry the world's pain, but to help heal it. Something happens when you extend your hands toward another person. Maybe you've already noticed. A slight warmth begins to gather in your palms. A subtle tingling runs through your fingers. It's as if something inside you activates, as if your hands, without you deciding it, begin to awaken. That sensation is no coincidence. It's a clear sign. Your hands are channels of energy, portals through which your soul can transmit light, calm, healing. In many spiritual traditions, it is said that the healer's power flows through their hands, not because of what they do with them, but because of what emanates from within. If you've ever felt warmth in your palms when someone you love is suffering, if you've noticed a tingling when placing your hands on someone, or simply sensed your hands vibrate in the presence of pain, then your body is already speaking to you. It's showing you that there is an active flow of energy ready to manifest. Your hands are more than physical limbs. They are spiritual sensors, conduits, bridges. And when a healer comes into contact with another soul, especially one in need of support, those hands begin to respond. They warm, they light up, they awaken. Now, I want to invite you to do something simple but deeply revealing. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. Bring your attention to your hands. Feel their temperature, their presence. Gently rub one palm against the other for a few seconds, creating a little heat. Now slowly separate them and hold them in front of you, not touching. Just observe them. Feel. Do you notice something? A small pulse, a vibration, an invisible energy moving between them? What you're feeling is not suggestion. It's real. It's living energy, and it's flowing through you at this very moment. You don't need to touch someone to channel it. You just need to recognize it. And when you do, everything changes because you realize that what you thought was a simple physical sensation is actually your soul at work. Those who touch with love activate their energy. Every time they hug, they bring calm. Every time they extend their palms with intention, they are channeling something greater than themselves. If this happens to you, don't ignore it. It is a clear sign that the gift lives within you. Your hands don't just touch, they transmit. They don't just feel, they heal. Have you ever felt overwhelmed after being around many people for too long? Have you noticed that there are days when, for no apparent reason, you feel the need to distance yourself from everything and everyone, to disconnect from the noise, to turn off the external voices and simply breathe? If so, you're not running away. You're returning to yourself. One of the deepest signs of the healing soul is its need to retreat, to return to nature, to silence, to inner space. Not because it doesn't love others, but because it feels too much and needs sacred places where it can release what it has absorbed and reconnect with its true essence. Healers don't recharge their energy in noise or crowds. Their soul vibrates differently. They recharge by walking barefoot on moist earth, feeling the sun on their skin, listening to the sound of the wind through the trees, contemplating the sky's reflection in water. Nature isn't a backdrop. It is their medicine. And silence is their temple, where there are no words, no expectations, where everything quiets down and only the pulse of what's real remains. The healer seeks spaces where they don't have to explain what they feel, where they aren't expected to smile, where they can simply be without carrying what doesn't belong to them. This doesn't make them antisocial. It makes them vibrational, because a soul that has come to heal needs to protect its energy field, to cleanse its channels, to rest emotionally, not just physically. And that deep cleansing occurs when the soul immerses itself in nature's secret language and listens. Because in the whisper of the wind, in the song of a bird, in the flow of water, the universe reminds the healer who they are and why they came. If you feel that need to withdraw alone, if you feel alive among the trees, if you experience an unexplainable peace when looking at the sky or diving into the sea, then you know that is your sanctuary, not to escape the world, but to return to it more conscious, more clear, more strong. The true healer does not fear solitude, because they have learned that in it they meet the most sacred thing, their own light. If you've come this far, it's not out of mere curiosity. It wasn't an accident or a slip of the algorithm. It's no coincidence that you are hearing these words at this precise moment in your life. It is your soul that brought you here, because you are ready to remember something that has always lived within you, even if you forgot it for a while. Along this path, you have recognized signs. Some have touched you more deeply than others. Some you have lived in silence. Others you have felt in the deepest parts of your body. Maybe you saw yourself reflected in those hands that activate when they touch. Maybe you recognized yourself in the emotional exhaustion after being around people who suffer. Or perhaps you've spent years recharging your spirit in solitude and in the embrace of nature without knowing that all of that was part of a calling to heal, to remember, to serve. Because when someone begins to see these signs, it is not a coincidence. It's because their soul is ready, ready to accept the role it chose long before incarnating, ready to stop denying its sensitivity and start understanding it as a sacred tool, ready to stop hiding its light out of fear of not being understood. Because those born with the gift of healing are not here to keep it to themselves, but to share it with the world. Accepting this calling doesn't mean having all the answers. It doesn't mean being perfect or having life figured out. It means walking with awareness, listening with compassion, holding without absorbing, and above all, healing in oneself what the soul wants to offer others. If any part of this message resonated with you, if any sign made you close your eyes and say, "Yes, that has happened to me," then it's time to stop doubting. Because doubt is part of the healer's path. But it cannot be their destination. Your path is just beginning. And even if you don't fully know it yet, the world needs what you carry within. If you have felt these signs, it is no coincidence. The gift of healing lives in you, and the world is waiting for you to remember. Now it's your turn. Honor that gift, develop it, protect yourself, and when you're ready, share it. Because every soul that awakens its light lights the way for many others.